Hi guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about how to edit S-Log footage from your Sony mirrorless cameras. And I'm going to be talking about how to edit S-Log 2 and S-Log 3 picture profiles in Final Cut Pro. The three ways I'm going to be showing you how to do that is one with the regular tools that you find in Final Cut without any plugins, just straight editing from hand. The second way I'm going to show you is with a plugin from Cinema Grade, or Color Grading Central, it's called Cinema Grade. And then the third way I'm going to show you is with a LUT from Phantom LUT that gives you that airy Alexa look. Yes, it's midnight. Yes, we're drinking coffee. Stop judging. Let's get started. Hi guys, before we move on with the tutorial, I just finished editing the video and I did realize that it did go on just a little bit too long. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put in the description below, I'm going to put the timestamps to the three different topics that we discussed, which is editing the video by hand, editing with Cinema Grade, and editing with the Phantom Airy LUTs. That way you can just skip ahead to whatever one that you are interested in. And a huge shout out to all the new subscribers to the channel. Really appreciate the love and support. And I will continue making videos. Anyway, so let's move on with the tutorial. Alrighty, guys. So the first way that we're gonna edit this footage here is this is a footage here of a bridal shoot that I did, and I took some clips and I shot this in S-Log 2. So one of the ways that I edit this, so let me bring this down a little bit. So we're gonna work on this clip only. What we're gonna do with this one is first we're gonna go to our little color panel here, and we're gonna click this drop down arrow. We're gonna add a color wheel as our first adjustment. And just a real quick rundown, this master wheel here adjusts the overall exposure. This side here adjusts the overall saturation of the image. So here, reset that. Of course, this one affects the dark part of the images, so like the parts here in the hair and like the shadows back here and the like the bushes and the shrubs. We'll adjust that. Midtones typically will affect the middle tone, so usually going to be like the skin and maybe even like some of the flowers in here, the brightness of that. And then the highlights, typically if you look in this little area here, you're going to see that the highlights affect the bright part of the image, so all the whites, even parts of the dress here will be affected when we adjust that. And so what we're gonna do when we shoot an S-Log, the main thing is that S-Log is a very flat picture profile, and the contrast is not there. Everything is real compressed. So if we look at a waveform, everything is compressed. I'm clipping over here, but I exposed for her. So we're clipping over here, which is this little area over here, which is it's not distracting. I mean, we're really focusing here on the bride. So, you know, everything is in here. So the first step that I do when I edit S-Log is I go to the shadow slider and I'm gonna start pulling this down. And what I'm doing is I'm looking in this area right here, and I wanna try to drop all this information just right below, right where it sits right above 0. So maybe around this area here. And this is all by hand. So if you already have Final Cut Pro and you don't want any plugins, this is what I would do. If I didn't have any LUTs or any Cinema Grade, I would go here, adjust the highlights a little bit. I would pull up the shadows, and then I would pull up my highlights to right about there. So what we're doing here, we're getting all this information, and it's just going above. And again, this is the blown out section of the image, but everything's sitting right above 100, which is okay with me. I'm fine with that. And then our midtones here, we want her midtones to be right around, we usually say like 50 to 70, but like 70 IRE, which is gonna be right in this range here. So her skin, I would say is gonna be right about here. I think this is part of her arm. So I think we're okay there. I mean, we just play around with it a little bit, but I think that seems a little too washed out. So I would say right about there. And then the last thing I do before I start adjusting some other stuff here is we really got to bring up the saturation of the image. And what we can tell right here, we're going to look at this waveform. we're gonna look at our saturation. And I would say somewhere about, that's too much, that's too little. So if we go right about halfway point, I would say that's pretty good. Let's do it right there. Okay, so that's the first step, is we want to try to kind of like correct our image, start adding contrast back in, start adding saturation back in. And right now that looks pretty good. But what we're gonna do, we're gonna add a little bit more. So we're gonna go back to this little color wheel icon, and we are going to go to, is it color curves? Yeah, we're gonna go to color curves here. And now all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a point here on my S curve, and then another point here. And I'm gonna drag down and add more contrast into the image. And you see how it affects our waveform here. So we're adding more contrast, more shadows into the image. And then here, I'm just gonna raise the highlights a little bit more. And what I'm really looking for right here is I'm gonna start pushing that up a little bit. And we're gonna have this nice highlight roll off on our curve. So a nice little S curve going down. And it's not much, like if you go too high, like our image starts looking kind of weird. So just come out and do that. So we just want some nice highlight roll off and something that's natural. And so then, to me that looks pretty good. Alrighty, so that's the first way. So let's go to one of these. We got this one and this one. So let me show you the Cinema Grade plugin now. So we're gonna use this clip. This clip was shot in S-Log3, and S-Log3 is a little bit harder to shoot and expose for, just because it's super flat profile, and it does take a lot of manipulation to get where you want. So let's see how we do with Cinema Grade on S-Log3. So I'm gonna grab my Cinema Grade plugin and let me see. Okay, so the first thing is we're gonna go to our effects panel, and we're gonna type in Cinema Grade. First you gotta download it and install the plugin. All right, but with Cinema Grade here, and then we drag and drop it, and then we're gonna go open controls, and boom. All right, so let's see, if we look at our waveform here, it's a little, I don't want to say overexposed, but we got a lot of detail on the highlights. We're not clipping anywhere, and we're pretty overexposed here where our shadows and midtones are. We're able to pull those down quite a bit. So there's two ways that you can do Cinema Grade. You can actually edit on the image, and there's tutorials and everything when you download the plugin. But if you don't want to watch like hours and hours worth of tutorials, then you can just do is you can open up this slider here on the thing and just use the sliders. Either way, works fine. So with S-Log3, it's even more flat than S-Log2. So what we're gonna do, we're really gonna have to bring down our midtones quite a bit, bring down our shadows even more, and now we're looking at our image here, and everything is now sitting above 0. Maybe a little bit more because we're gonna add highlights back in. So okay, so then what we're gonna do is increase our highlights here, and right about there. Seems pretty good. And actually we need to increase the mids. Actually, I went down too far in the mids, and we need to drop our shadows a little bit more. Something like that. Increase our highlights. Drop our mids even more. And now that looks pretty good. And now if I look at our waveform here, and you look at this line and this channel here, so we got the RGB channel. It looks like our blue we got too much blue in the image. It might be a little too cool, so we're gonna go to our temperature slider, and we're gonna warm up the image just a little bit until kind of that line meets. Maybe that's too much, because we do have a blue sky, right? So we don't wanna, completely match it up, but I want to say something. Something about there makes, you know, seems okay. We can drop our shadows a little bit more. Maybe right about there, and then we'll just start adding some contrast into the image. Maybe right about there. You can pull back our highlight. Oh, no, sorry, too much. Let's see. Adjust our highlights again. Go down on our mids. And right there, that looks pretty good. And then the next thing we're gonna do is we can add saturation into the image. And now we're talking. Maybe that's too much. Yeah, right about there. So now we got some good saturation. So we got really great dynamic range on this image. Right about there. So we can still see the clouds in the image up here. We still got detail in the clouds. We still got detail on the shadows. We haven't lost anything. And so the hard, tricky part about S-Log3 is making sure that you have a good exposure on your entire image here. Making sure that, especially in a scene like this, where you're not exposing for skin tones, and you're just exposing for like a landscape type of image, or in this case, I was doing the building, which is here is crooked. Because I always shoot at a 30-degree angle handheld, I don't know why. But when you do that, you want to usually typically overexpose where your two stops over, where your little indicator on your camera's, you know, +2 is blinking. That typically, without a monitor, would be my rule of thumb, and this is what I did without the monitor, is exposed +2. I looked at my waveform, making sure that I wasn't clipping. And that's how you expose it. If you underexpose S-Log, forget it. We wouldn't be able to edit like this without having a bunch of noise in our image. So it is a little tricky to expose, but with the third way that I'm gonna show you, you'll really be impressed with how much flexibility it gives you. Anyway, so let's finish editing this clip real quick. So we added some exposure, we added contrast, we added saturation, and we got a great clean looking image here. And then so the last thing that you can do here in cinema grade is we can add a finishing LUT. And let's just kind of go with, let's take a look here. I got some of my LUTs here. I think these are from Henbu, so these are the Henbu LUTs. So let's go with Daylight 2. And we're gonna hit accept. And that looks pretty good. And then one of my favorite things that I use in cinema grade is if we hit Command Option F, we can go into the false color mode and we can see the false colors of the image. And here I'm looking right here in the corner of the hospital. We're seeing some dark purple, and we're seeing, we're seeing some purple here also, and down here. So when we're seeing purple in our image, that means we're underexposing too much. We're going way past the 0. We're in the negative IRE range. So what we're gonna, and that could be because we just added the LUT. So what we're gonna do is just gonna raise our shadow just a little bit so we get purple out of that image, and we're good there. And if, let's say, for example, the highlights were overexposed too much, we would start seeing red like that. And that means we're clipping our highlights in false color mode. So we're gonna reset it, and I think we're okay there, to be honest. We can just go up a little bit on our highlights. Let's see our final image. And that looks nice. So that's using the Cinema Grade plugin. It does allow you to also edit on the image. So if I was to hit like Shift E, you know, or something, I can go to the shadow part of the image again, and I can click on it, raise the shadows, darken the shadows, and go to the highlights. Click and drag and drop on the highlights, or even the saturation. If I just hit S, I can lower saturation, increase the saturation. So it has those keyboard shortcuts that make everything easier. But for the sake of the tutorial, I just wanted to show you like through the sliders and how it works. But it's a really useful plugin if you don't like using LUTs and you want to color grade, but you don't want to use like DaVinci, or you don't want to use like color wheels or anything, and you want something that's more intuitive, this is a great plugin. So let's apply and look at our final image. See, it looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. And if we go to our before and after, this is what we started with, and that's what we finished with in S-Log3. Now, the last thing I want to go over here before I end this video is the Joel Famularo, I'm sorry, I'm probably mispronouncing this name. So these Phantom Luts, and it's by Joel Famularo. And what this gentleman did a great service for all his Sony camera users. What he did was he went and he got Sony cameras. He also got the FS7, I believe, and he pretty much shot it side by side with an Arri Alexa camera, and he matched the colors. And if you go through here, like, it basically, I mean, you can watch his video. I'll put the link in the description if you're debating on these LUTs. But here's some examples here of the footage that you're getting out of Sony cameras. Of course, this is probably with like the FS7 and stuff, but I'll show you right now with the A7iii, you're getting colors that are just, you have never seen on a Sony camera. I haven't, without these LUTs. I mean, then the images that you get, it's really like having a brand new camera. You know, the Sony colors that are straight out of camera are nice. You know, I have no complaints, but this is like a really organic feel. It does have that like Arri Alexa feel when you do it, and a lot of my projects, especially because they're churn and burn projects, and I really pride myself on churning out projects quickly. I don't wait months before turning in something. I mean, within the week, I'm having a video out to clients, and one of the main things that's helped my workflow and helped my like speed and color grading is this LUT pack, and I'm going to show you how versatile it is. So let's see, let's get out of here. So let's go to our custom LUTs. And so one thing so most of the stuff I shoot is now, and we're going to go over, is in S-Log2. And the picture profile, I believe, is, one second. You guys like? Yeah, okay, so I'm sorry. Yeah, so the profile that I'm shooting in when I shoot in S-Log2 is the S-Gamut3.cine. And so when Joel first came out with these LUTs, he had they were good. And then a couple of months ago, he released a updated version to these LUTs that include the S-Gamut3.cine version. And I emailed Joel and I asked him, what profile does he recommend using the LUTs with the A7iii? And he said the S-Gamut3.cine. He says it feels like the colors that come out of that are better with the LUTs. And so let me show you. So this one is an S-Log2, S-Gamut3.cine. We're going to do our custom LUTs. And I'm going to show you how quick this is. I mean, how fast this is. So we're going to go custom LUT. After you can upload your LUTs. If you don't have like the quick access here, you're gonna have to go to, choose your custom LUT, find it in the folder, wherever you have it. But for the sake of time in the tutorial, let's go to these. So you're gonna get, actually, let's go through all of these. You're gonna get, when you get your Arri Alexa LUTs, you're gonna get a couple, pretty much these LUTs. So you're gonna have them for S-Log2, you're gonna have them for S-Log3, and you're going to have them for the S-Gamut.cine right here. So you're going to have all these, the S-Log2, S-Gamut3.cine. And so the profiles that you get with these LUTs are the neutral, the tungsten, ice blue, Jamaica, and Utopia. So let's cover all of those real quick. So we're in S-Log2, and we're going to go to neutral, and we're going to click neutral. And right off the bat, that is a good image. And you look here, we're not clipping highlights, we're not clipping shadows. And let's go to full screen. And I mean, that's a good image. That's perfectly usable. I mean, there's nothing, if you want to tweak it, this could be a base grade or this could be something that just goes, then we go on to the next clip and edit it. But let's go through just some of the things. So that's that was S-Log, or that was the neutral look. Let's go to Utopia. The Utopia look is a wonderful look. I mean, maybe this is probably not the best example. Let's try it with this one. Let's try Utopia on this one. And we're gonna go here, custom LUT, and we're gonna go to recent. We're gonna go to, I don't think this one was shot in the S-Log, but this one was S-Log2. Where is it? Phantom A7iii picture profile somewhere here. The Utopia on S-Log2. And look at that. One click, and we're done. Look at this look. I mean, that's a beautiful look. I don't see anything wrong with that. Are we clipping a little bit here? No, we're not clipping. We're not clipping down here. That is a beautiful look. I mean, look at that. That's one click. One click. We're done. We go on to the next clip. We copy and paste it off across the whole film, and you're done. I mean, really, that's how quick this is. And we went from flat profile to boom. A7iii lets it look. Okay, so you say, well, what happens if I underexpose here, right? So this is not an overexposed image. This is not, if you look at this one, this is not exposed by 2 stops. This is at night, as you can tell, we're already in like blue hour, and I just have these little string lights here. And you can tell, you know, there's already noise in the image, but let me just show you real quick. So we're gonna go to custom LUT, we're gonna drag it onto there, and this was shot also in the, let's see, profile 7. So this one wasn't in S-Log Cine, it's Gamut Cine. So let's try tungsten for this one. And we're in tungsten S-Log2. Boom. And look at that. I mean, that's a good image. I don't know what to tell you. But even at night, you know, this image works well. I mean, this works well. Let's try another one here. Let's try profile 7. And let's try the ice blue. Look at that image. And this is not overexposed S-Log at all. This is at night shooting S-Log. I mean, this was one of the corporate, not a corporate video, but this is a video I did for the hospital. And I used that LUT for this video. So I go, let's add this one. And this thing is just amazing, I'm telling you guys. Like, it's the best $50 you're gonna spend. It's gonna save you so much time. Look at that. I mean, come on. Now, you can learn and spend hours on learning how to color grade. And you know what? If you want to be a colorist, by all means, more power to you, go for it. But look at the skin tones. Look at this image. This is perfect image with a drag of a LUT. So the versatility comes where you can use this LUT at night without overexposing your image. And if you look at here, this is not an overexposed image by two stops. You know, I didn't overexpose this image 2 stops. Maybe 1 stop, I overexposed it. And look at that. It's just a 9-day difference, and it gives you that Alexa look. I mean, this is my favorite way to color grade now. And this is why I've used S-Log instead of HLG. I used to use HLG and HLG3, which was an easy profile to expose and everything. But once you get down to learning how to expose, Joel tells you in his videos, like, you know, exposure is an artistic choice. You can overexpose by 2 stops, you can overexpose by 1 stop, you can expose to 0. It doesn't really matter because the LUTs work. I mean, the LUTs, you see here, the LUTs work whether it's dark, whether it's, you know, 1 stop, or even here, I think I overexposed this by 2 stops. So let's try this one, last one, before I just gotta wrap this video up. And let's try the profile 7, and I like, well, I really like the Utopia look. Or we haven't tried green eyes, right? So the green eyes really brings out the greens here in the image. And But let's try, I think for this one, the Utopia look was probably going to be the best bet with S-Log2. Where is, oh, wrong one. Right here. Look at that. So you saw how much time we spent trying to edit this. If you look at my grade, the teal and orange look, and you look at this grade, it's just night and day. I mean, I couldn't do this. I couldn't, there's no way I could get to this image by color grading by hand. It's just awesome. Really is a great image out of this camera. And it really is like having a brand new camera in your hands. When you get these Luts and you're so used to HLG profile, you're so used to the Sony colors, and then you add these Luts onto your images, it's just like having a brand new camera. I don't want to say it's like having an ARRI camera, because obviously the Sony A7 III versus an ARRI Alexa, it's not even close in the same ballpark. But the colors that you can get from a Sony A7 III using these Luts by Joel are just amazing. And people always ask, like, what camera are you shooting? Because they haven't seen anything like this before. And I'm telling you, this is the secret sauce right here. This is it. Alrighty guys, well I hope you liked that tutorial. I'll put the links in the description. Again, this is not a sponsored video by any means. I wish, as you can tell by my subscriber count and my views, that I'm not getting any type of sponsorships. But I really like these Luts, and they've saved me so much time. And I hope you learned something from at least the color grading by hand. Just a real quick rundown on just, if you don't want to spend 50 bucks, or if you don't want to spend $200 on the cinema grade or anything like that, and you just have Final Cut Pro or like a free version of some type of editing software, hopefully this helps. Hopefully you learned something. And if you did, hit the like button. And if you didn't, well, I'm sorry, but subscribe, comment if you would like me to do a more thorough rundown on the Luts by the Phantom Luts by Joel, and I'll put the links in the description below. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Why do I keep my